Welcome to the Ridgecrest Lost and Found podcast. In the same way that you have jorts with way too short of an inseam and camp t-shirts from 10 years ago, that's what this podcast is about. Random things at random times. My name is Logan.
I'm Steven.
And today, we don't look at me like
this is going really well.
we have none other than Daniel Wagner. What is your official title?
I am officially the executive pastor of ministry at Fondren Church.
Gosh, that sounds way too official for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
So we'll get into our relationship and all the things that have happened since birth. Why don't you we'll go ahead and get into it. You take either 3 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 hours, kind of give us background into who you are, and then we'll jump in.
Yes, I'll go in between the first two, right? So, yes, I'm Daniel Wagner. I currently serve as the executive pastor of ministry at Fondren Church. So I do whatever our senior pastor asks me to do, as it is with most church jobs. So that's my story. I'm from the metro, been in and around Jackson my entire life. Parents are from here, mostly. I grew up in Madison, went to school all throughout Madison Public Schools to Madison Central. Joke that I went from Big MC to Little MC, so I went from Madison Central to Mississippi College, and worked in some church while I was there, and have been at Fondren Church for 8 years now. Married to my wife, Carly, who's definitively the better of the two of us. Everybody says that about their spouse, but it's actually legitimately true about mine. Lots of times it's just lip service, but she loves Laura more than me, and is a remarkable person and all the things. And we have one 4-year-old daughter, Stella. We live really close to here right now, live in a house of other res that we're flipping because I'm trying to get into the Christian slumlord game. So that's it. I can explain that later if I need to.
No, I like no context way better. Wow, there's so much to unpack there.
Do people tell you that she's the better version or the better of the two?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how you usually tell that it's probably true.
Yeah,
other
I mean,
people are saying
it's not like I'm a drug dealer or anything
Right.
like that, but yeah, Carly definitively very hospitable, sees people who need Jesus, is really about the business.
And the best thing you can say about yourself is that you were definitely not a drug dealer.
Yes.
That's like top 5
Yeah,
things that I
okay.
don't want to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
totally.
an inspiring slumlord.
Yes,
Which is
Christian
helpful.
slumlord.
Christian slumlord.
Big difference.
Christian slumlord.
There is a difference.
Daniel's wife and my wife are similar in a few ways, but one of the ways that we're similar, though, they're similar, is that they will let us know that we are not as holy as we think we are, and that probably that they are better Christians than us.
Yeah, marriage is refining, right? Marriage is refining. It's like James 2. You look at yourself in the mirror and you forget what you look like. That's like the Bible in your life. That's also
Yes.
like a good spouse in your
They're
life.
just a
too,
good
you know?
flashlight. They just illuminate everything,
Yes.
all of the bad parts, and then they let you know, like, hey, just in case you missed it, these are the bad parts that
But
you
they're-
need to work on.
But they're kind,
Yeah,
right? Like
sure.
I would not play that game the same way.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, get your life together. But I don't have to
Yes.
do that, which is nice.
So Daniel is here for lots of reasons. Main reason that he's here is because Daniel is, I don't know why I'm using you in third person. We've known each other probably longer than I've known anyone outside of my family. And that has gone the longest, oldest friendship, all the things. It's been a good time. We for your 30th birthday, I got to put all of that in writing in a letter. That was very good. I enjoyed it, and we won't discuss any of the stuff
Yeah, it was really
that
powerful.
was put in there. But it was a good time. And so kind of what I wanted to do today is walk through a couple of different things, talk about some interesting things that we that we went through as children and adults, and then kind of do something at the end that'll kind of put a nice little bow on this little friendship episode that we have.
This is not the end of the friendship. This is just the episode, right?
I mean, who knows?
Please don't do that.
Maybe by the end of this, we're like, this is over with.
This has been enough time. Shelf life, expiration date. Check the tag on the thing.
Oh
the top
my
of the carton of
gosh.
milk.
So we have been friends since 6th grade.
Yeah,
that-
11. Yeah, that's right.
You have an age. I have the grade to it.
Sure.
Because I just remember being at Madison Middle and I remember being in that break period out in the courtyard and just being like, here we go. We're going to figure this out together. And so, because we met because we had a mutual friend
Yes.
that we would it's weird how when you think back in things and you're like, it was kind of weird that we did these things or that I did these things. I spent the night at that guy's house so many times, and now I'm looking back, I'm like, it was interesting that like we were just always over there,
Yeah,
all
for
the
sure.
time.
Yes.
And what ended up happening is as the mutual friend, we just kind of became friends together, and it was like the three of us among others. And then just as life happened, we just became closer and closer and closer, and things happened.
Here we are now, baby.
Here we
Look
are.
at us. Yeah, it really is interesting. There's always kind of that house where people go to,
Yeah.
and it's got a lot of seasons to it and a lot of variants. That was looking back on my childhood, thinking about that. It was really important for me to have a spot where, as my parents were divorcing, trying to figure out kind of what life looked like for them, that there was a consistent place for me to come to. And it was really sweet to see that going
And
back.
it was
Not like it was the most stable place, but it was
No.
more stable than what I had,
that was the thing. I was going to say, for very different reasons, we just always were at that house.
Yeah.
And it is not like that house was the most stable of houses or anything, but it was a good place.
Dude, a
And
great house.
It was a great house.
Yeah.
Great people in the house, and
Yes.
we just had a great time. It was very interesting. And then we just survived school together. That was we went through so much. High school, middle school, Rosa Scott.
Yeah, great
the things.
concept, right? Put the ninth graders together, let them figure it out, drop them off in the big world. So there's a long time between 14 and 18. I think about schools here like Germantown. They do that, right? You probably have some student ministry
Yes.
students that are in those environments, and I just can't think about a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old being in the same place.
No.
Especially like a creepy 18-year-old who wants to date a 14-year-old.
And that happens a lot.
I'm sure that does happen.
But I even remember, because Madison Middle is giant. It was giant then.
Yeah.
It's even more giant now.
Even with Germantown having middle school,
Oh yeah.
it's still more giant.
I mean,
gianter.
Central is now 7A.
Yeah,
And they're
I saw
every
that.
bit of 7A. So
Yeah.
I mean, so many people. They're still bigger in Germantown, which I don't know if that'll always be the case, because Germantown is going nuts.
They're building a lot of things out there in Gluckstadt.
But I remember thinking, because I was in 6th grade, I was like 5'11", and even then, as a 6th grader, I remember looking down that huge hallway at those 8th graders, being like, "Holy smokes, no, thank you." But you were in band,
Yeah, so I had to walk by there.
and the band hall is right.
Yeah.
He doesn't know this because Steven's homeschooled, but
I was. Don't use it in current tense.
But you do still learn things at home, though, right?
yeah,
No.
Is it like once homeschool, forever homeschool?
Yeah.
you're a lifelong
Yeah.
learner, Steven.
I don't know how to learn anything outside of home. So if I'm going to be taught something, I have to go home.
Right, I
Yeah.
get it.
He
It's
just
a,
heads to his parents'
it's a
house.
familiar muscle, right? Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to put you in your parents' house. I was saying like your house now, your adult home with your
no,
wife.
I was going back to
Has to be my parents' house.
No,
I was going
that's-
back to
that's-
Collier 1.0
Yeah.
house.
I don't
yeah.
believe that. That's not true.
It's not true.
But so I was stationed in the 6th grade hall, because we had by the 6th grade hall was the gym, but
Yeah,
you had
100%.
to travel.
I did.
I mean, you
all
was,
the way.
but even then, from a 6th grader to an 8th grader was look at these adults.
Yes.
And then now I can't imagine being a 9th grader and just looking at these full-grown adults.
Yeah, literally
Called
adults.
18-year-olds.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, let's just hang out together.
Like you're vaping illegally and they're vaping legally.
yes.
Vapes, they're still a thing, right?
Still rocking and
Yeah.
rolling.
It's been a while since I've been in student ministry, but
But see, that's the weird part, because we grew up from Mississippi, a large city with a lot of people in it.
yeah, for sure.
And it was one where it was a lot of people for our context, but there was just one school. You have bigger cities, and they just have JPS. You just have schools everywhere, so it's not quite as packed in. But when I was at Canton Academy, it was so normal for an 8th grader to be hanging out with an 18-year-old, just because you had so many less kids that it was weird. And because people will ask me, because you and Carly are the same age, but me and Megan,
Mm-hmm.
Megan's a year younger. And so they're like, did you talk to Megan at all when we were in youth ministry? And I was like, no, you didn't talk to anybody outside your grade. Maybe if you were in a leadership role, or you were trying to disciple the babies of the youth group, but your grades were just so large, you just didn't talk to anybody.
It is a really interesting dynamic. I was at an event that we did at Fondren on Sunday night. It was a young adult event. I'm still pretty dialed into that ministry, and there was somebody who I think is 26, 27, something like that, and she was talking about a couple of guys who, when they were in college, would work summers in Tupelo at a church there, and they were really formative in her life, while I think they would say I was really formative in their life, and it's hilarious because they're 2 years younger than I am,
Yeah.
and then she's 2 years younger than them. So there's almost a generation of ministry leadership in between me and her, and we were born into the same American
know.
president. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy how like where you live just impacts all that stuff.
Did you and Megan though? Like, did y'all go on a mission trip or anything together?
No.
Like, were we on a trip at the same time with
Because-
her and you?
No,
you know what I'm saying?
because like Ford's asked me that because Ford went to
Right.
Maine with you.
Yes, that's
Was it
right.
Maine?
Yeah, that was the first mission trip I went on.
But
Yeah,
I wasn't plugged in yet then.
Right.
That was right before I got
yeah,
there.
that was the end of sophomore year.
And then Megan went to L.A.
Right.
But I think instead of going to L.A., that's when I started going to England.
We would have gone to Jamaica the year she would have gone to LA, right? I think
Yeah.
that was like the 9th, 10th grade trip,
think
and we
so.
went on like the 11th, 12th grade trip. I
Yes.
think that's when they had them like stair stepped.
So, I have so many stories from the Jamaica trip because I don't even know if we've ever really talked about it. Because when I started kind of getting into things at church in 9th grade, and then try to figure things out, started to follow Jesus in 10th grade, and then it was that like, I think was it that summer or the next spring break that we went to Jamaica?
Next spring break, yeah,
It was that next, yeah.
yeah, junior year.
And that was just the wildest trip because it was supposed to be, so Stephen, it was supposed to be like a leadership trip. It was supposed to be kind of like upperclassmen. You know, you're supposed to run things. And I had been a Christian for all of 5 seconds.
Nice.
And like we had to pray out loud. We had to like go into co-ed small groups and hold hands and like all these things where I was like terrified.
Yeah.
And Daniel was like, be a man, step it up. Because he was already dating Carla. He had already talked to a girl to the point where she wanted to talk back to him. And
Sometimes.
I was barely there. We had.
You're making us look really cool today.
I know. It's great. You almost killed a kid because he snuck down to our bonfire and scared
yeah.
the bejeebers out of everybody.
Well, listen, there was a really small part of me today, the squirrel that I'm not supposed to address in the corner that I'm addressing right now, and this on the video screen that I'm not supposed to address either. I was afraid that this was connected to him because he like recreationally hunts squirrels. You didn't put that together, did you?
No.
I didn't know
I
what we were doing when we
didn't,
walked
but
in
We
here,
don't
and I was
plan
really
that
scared.
far ahead here.
I'm just thinking about it now.
I was really scared.
We could have a whole.
I've heard the story.
We could have a
think.
whole podcast about certain individuals
Yeah.
from our youth group just because of how amazing it was. But just, do you have a story for that, the bonfire freak out? Can you tell that in story form, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, no, you know, you hear like Jamaica mission trip, right? Where do y'all go? Do you go anywhere cool here? What's the coolest like locale? You bait people, like that's part of the job that I do now. Like I help our missions pastor think about mobilization. So I'm like, hey, tell people really cool city,
Yeah.
and then they'll be like, let's go, and then they end up sleeping like in a closet on the
Yes.
second floor or something like that of a building.
We're just now to the point, we're re-upping all that to the point where we're about to start baiting them. Like I just got back from a South Dakota trip where I'm about to be like, hey, Mount Rushmore's really cool. Also,
Yes.
everyone is not a Christian there, and you're going to sleep in a super old church that was abandoned.
Yes.
But it's going to be a great trip. So anyway, we're almost there. Anyway,
Registration opens.
it's, in about 6 months.
All right. Well, Bolo for registration, right? So, really rural area in Jamaica. You drove past all the resorts where most
Yep.
of the money was, and then there were a couple of impoverished communities around, and there was often some people who, because of the systems in Jamaica, the government systems, people who had some form of a mental disability, lots of schizophrenia and things like that, that just weren't provided for well here. So we saw some people in and around our region who were not very stable, and we're kind of anticipating being on the lookout for them again.
There was security.
Yeah,
Because
like
it was
armed security.
dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And that's not that uncommon, but it's just a thing. So anyway, we're down this like long walkway, and it was a really cool spot. It was like a converted hotel kind of concept. That was a ministry center. They did really good work as far as like starting micro businesses and giving people loans to really raise their quality of life and connect them to the local church. Just a really cool ministry. But we were down this like long walkway that was kind of a fire pit that was by the bay there.
Yeah, it was like right on the shoreline.
Yeah, totally. A super cool spot, kind of like elevated, so it wasn't easy to access it. You had to take a different way to be able to access it. So it was this long walk. I mean, probably like 100 feet, no joke, maybe more.
It was short of a quarter mile. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I mean a really long way with like
Yeah.
a turn or two. So if you were walking there, the chances are that someone would see you. But it was like close to the last night. If you got a mission trip experience, anybody watching, you're kind of dialed in. You're thinking about, how do I apply this to my life when I go back home, right? How do I leave different? Mission trips are like ministry microwaves. So people were just really locked in. and all of a sudden a girl who's sitting across from us turns around because I think she like changes her knee position or something like that, like her feet, and she screams at the top of her lungs. And
it wasn't like it was like a full-on blood-curdling shriek.
And I mean for seconds, which felt like years, right? And then we look, and this person who we referenced earlier is curled up in the fetal position, like on the, maybe upright, but maybe down because he's like trying to low-key hide and listen. And he just wanted to see what we were talking about because his group wrapped up and ours had not yet. So he walked silently in the dark, no flashlight, all the way down this thing and hunched behind this girl, and it was terrifying. I think we were done at that point.
And it scarred her for life, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Daniel jumped and was like ready to pummel him because we've been told, like, hey, everything's going to be fine, but there's a chance that something happens. And so she screams. Then everyone starts screaming because if one girl screams, every girl and some of the boys are going to start screaming. I definitely didn't. And Daniel and someone else, I feel like there was another person, was about to just full-on fight while we were all fighting. We were like, what are you doing? And he was trying to tell us what the deal was. Well, then by this point, armed security is like converging on our location because they think we're being attacked. And it was an incredible time.
Yeah, great time.
And I wish that was the craziest story that we had heard.
I understand,
But it's not.
like the walking, like not thinking about it, walking silently to the other group. I get that. Probably messed up when he decided to hunch behind somebody and just kind of lurk.
Yeah, lurk's
That's
a good
probably
word.
where the line was crossed.
Yes.
That's funny though.
So he probably is a great hunter, because he does a lot of lurking, lurking, stalking, not of people but of animals.
Yeah.
All right, have fun with that one.
So I'm just going to transition right out of it. And so one of the interesting things about kind of our relationship was that we both did football at our school. And the interesting part of that was I don't think either of us, and you may think differently, I don't think either of us really cared at all about the sport of football. I think it was more of like we are athletic, we like to have fun. There may have been some aggression that needed to be pushed out a little bit. But
that's about me or that's about you? It's about me for sure.
Yeah, I was the one that I remember senior year when we got done. We were towards the end, and you and me would have conversations about how I would act and different things, and I realized that I was like, oh, I'm angry every day because of football practice. We did some sort of practice 6 days a week.
For sure.
And we did it from summer through Thanksgiving. We did not have a Thanksgiving break at all in high school because we made it just far enough in the playoffs to get beat to where we lost our Thanksgiving break just to lose.
Every single time.
It was great.
But the Jags got out of North State. What, last year or was that 2 years ago?
They've won state since we got out.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's right.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's so different now.
Good for them.
It's so different now. I know that like you don't care, and I super duper care for our students.
Yes, he does. He loves the
Yes.
Jags and the Mavs and the Patriots and the other Patriots
And
the Raiders and the Warriors and whatever St. Augustine is.
Yes.
He loves all of you.
the Griffins.
Griffins. I knew that.
What is Christ's covenant?
The Warriors.
Because I'm about to have high schoolers in a few years.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Because they're going all the way through.
Yep.
Anyway, so I just realized I was like, I'm angry all the time because I just didn't have the level of like, there's some people that like they're there to hurt people and to get aggression out. I was like, I had to ramp that up to get there, and usually when it ramped up, not good things happened. But it was an interesting time. That was a wild time for us. But the interesting part was, I tell people I was talking to. I'll just say his name, Michael Bowen.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
Because-
do we use names on this podcast?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right.
All
right.
You can use a judgment call on what the story is.
Yeah.
You'll usually be able to tell if it's a name.
I've listened to all of them up to
Yeah.
this point, not the unreleased ones, but and there's like a moment where do we go for the name or not
There's
go for the
definitely-
name?
there's
I just didn't know what the rules were.
Lurking Squirrel Hunter, no name. Michael Bowen story name.
So Michael was talking about his son Eli because Eli is on the Madison Central football team. I think he's a 10th grader this year.
Wow.
I know.
Does that make you feel old?
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, like he was a child when we were a different form of a child.
Yes.
Like a small child when we were, whatever, teenage children.
I have another Bowen story to tell after this, so let me
All
forget.
right.
this
Pepper Carter.
yes
Yeah.
this will remind me. Brian, one of our staff members, he'll be in staff meeting and he'll hold one, then he'll hold another.
He does that for real?
and then he'll hold it like this.
He doesn't remember all of them now.
No, not at all. Because usually he'll look and he'll go, "Why don't I have this?" Anyway,
But if you remember half of them, then like you're onto something, you know?
so Eli's playing football. Michael was talking to me about it because Eli is tall and he's tall but not huge.
I can't wait for what this is going to be. Okay, got it.
It's
Yeah.
about weight.
Okay, got it.
He's
Okay.
tall and not big, but he's playing O-line, and
Yeah.
so he wanted to get massive
Sure.
because as all high school O-line coaches are, they're like, just get huge because
Yes.
mass moves mass. And I was able to tell him, like, hey, don't do that, first off, because there will come a day when you've graduated and you're not playing football and you're huge.
Correct.
But then I was talking about you, and
Yeah,
I was like,
I'm a good case
Daniel
study.
played offensive line as, what, 200, 205?
Yeah, I was probably like 2.5, 2.10, yeah.
And I was like, he did.
Not in the bulletin, though. Or the, what was it, bulletin?
The program?
Press release? Whatever
What
it
did
was.
What did it say?
I think I was listed at least at 225.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
There-
235.
Because you had no control over that. And there was no
Oh,
way
no
that our
way,
coaches
dude.
were putting, we have an offensive lineman at 205 or
Dude,
2.
I mean, they made people like, 3 inches taller than they were.
It was crazy.
No joke.
It was wild. But I was talking about you because I was like, hey, just be strong, be fast, be explosive. It doesn't matter.
That's it.
And
I'm at least one of those things now. I'll let you guess which one.
explosive.
That's actually what people would tell you. Yes.
And I was like, there does come a time where, because I don't remember what team we were playing, but there was a time when you were going up against a guy that was all of 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And there was just, it didn't matter. You could have been able to move a house, but you weren't moving that house because that dude would just lay on you.
Yes.
And it was,
So that's basically what it became. I just attacked his legs. This is a different type of football.
it's so,
I don't think you can do that now anymore. I mean,
that
I
was
don't know.
all that we did was
Yeah,
cut
totally,
blocks.
100%, dude.
That was all that we did.
100%.
Which is, if you don't know, Stephen, you just put your head on the side of their kneecap and
Yeah.
you just destroyed them. And it was,
It's basically like if you fall down here, then like you can't do anything to anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And because we had such speed behind us that it was just like, we didn't really have to do anything.
Oh, dude, no
anyway.
way. If I could do like 2 seconds on somebody,
Yeah.
like it's done, dude.
It was great.
We're at the house.
But that was always the interesting part because I started working out like in 9th, 10th grade. And it was always interesting because Daniel, which we've talked about your dad on the podcast.
Yeah, I know about the homeless people, right? I saw that. I love
Yes.
that.
Because I need to get Paul on here.
Yeah, he'd be
Because
great.
he would go.
He'd be great. He wears his Club 4 shirt on here. It's tight polo. I know it's probably like a 3X, but he's like, you know,
But
3X, youth 3X.
maybe not. But I remember I have this. I don't even know if you remember this, but we were working out at the field house. Thank you.
Yes.
And
It's probably nice now. It's probably got like robots
yeah,
there now.
yeah, they probably just
You
lift
know?
you. You don't lift the weights.
Yeah, that's right.
But I remember, I think it was during the summer or something. Daniel was like, "Hey, do you want to like come work out with me and my dad?" And I was like, "Yeah, it'll be great. We'll just do what we did in here, which is like bench press and you squat some."
Mm-hmm.
And I found out what real working out was from hanging out with you and your dad, because in between actively like fighting MMA each other in the middle of the living room, it would just be complete burnout sets on whatever Paul felt like doing that day. Either
100%.
bench press or curls. It was some upper body thing. I don't
Yes.
think we did a whole lot of legs. But the worst thing that he would do, what gym were we at? I guess it was the club.
Yeah, probably
No, it was the courthouse on 51,
51.
that is now a club for fitness.
100%. He's there. You'll find Paul there once every 4 or 5 weeks.
Because we also had that job rolling up inflatables for Paul Lacoste.
I hope that you are going to go to this today. Dude, I think about that sometimes. That was a hilarious job. Like, did we get $40 a piece or $40 between the two of
No, I
us?
think it was $40 a piece.
See, that's good. Because I'm like, I don't remember this. But, you know, the arrangement was we would go there sometime after like 8 p.m. That's when the, what was it called? It was some kind of bounce something.
Yeah.
But they had it, and it was like an inflatable kind of thing, sort of like Pump It Up. But
It was like a pump it up. It was a room full of inflatables.
right. And I mean, I bet you I could draw a map right now of the footprint of that room and tell you what the inflatables were
Yes.
because of how many times we rolled that up. And that was like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Junior and senior year.
And we were Yeah, like
and it
we
was
were,
what 4 or 5 days a week.
and we were making dough.
Yeah, dude, straight up. So we would pull up, and you probably remember this. I mean, it's hilarious. Based on like what we had to do that week or that night, we would either take an hour and roll these things up progressively, or time ourselves and do it fast,
60 seconds.
And I remember a couple times we got a third person. I think it was, we don't really have time to do this tonight, or we want to go hang out with somebody or go to something. So we'd bring somebody else in and give them money. We would take a hit and get done with it faster.
Well, there was also junior, senior year. We were hanging out with KJ.
Yeah, for
every
sure.
day.
That's
and
right.
So I don't remember that super well, but I'm sure there were nights where we were like, just come on.
I do remember that once or
We'll
twice.
go make it
Us
happen.
being like, dude, we are not about to do this by ourselves.
No. But I remember they had a CD player in the back, and we would just put on whatever CD they had, and it was either like Justin Bieber or Journey or something.
It was a really weird arrangement.
Those are very different.
Yeah,
Totally.
They start with J. That's the only similarity they have.
That was our life though.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the prerequisite.
But anyway,
Was the J playlist?
Only J songs.
but I remember
Jay-Z.
I remember being in that. It was the courthouse back then, and we would be on a bench because we only did upper body, and we would do burnout.
He's doing
sets.
legs now. It's good.
Good, it's good for him.
Yeah.
But I remember because this was back in the days when Paul couldn't touch his shoulders because his arms were so big, which still may be the case. But we would do burnout sets.
I gotta think about that.
With the, we'll ask him. We'll get him to send in the video.
I'm serious. He probably can't now. He's jacked, dude.
But we would. He's Jack now. Okay.
Yeah.
Like he hadn't always been.
Yeah, for sure.
But where you would start with like 135, and then you would just go, and then he would take. You would do like 4 different like plates, not 4 plates, but just like little things. You take off 10 pounds at a time, and you always got to the point where you had just the bar, and you would just go until failure.
Yes.
But the problem is that while you were doing it, he was screaming at you, making fun of you, calling girls over to watch you struggle with just the bar.
100%.
Because that's what builds character.
People with no knowledge, like, this is the very last thing I'm doing. I've been here for 90 minutes. Not 90 minutes like gym 90 minutes where you walk over and you talk to people at the desk, you go to the bathroom 8 times.
No, we didn't do that at all.
Real work.
Yeah.
Consecutive work. And then people who just got in are looking and they're thinking, wow, why are these large people barely lifting this bar? And they don't know that it was our 30th rep. Not even like our 30th set, but like our 30th rep. It it was interesting.
And, I mean, you have a guy, Paul was probably 40 at that point, large, muscular, bald man who's pointing and laughing at you, saying like, why can't you lift this? You're so weak. And it was a beautiful time.
But it's great preparation for ministry, though, right? You know, you have people making accusations against you sometimes.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, you're like, well, I've heard worse things.
Oh gosh. But that was also a time where, because it was so strange now that I look back on it. We were roughly the same, like we could both move the same amount of weight. The difference was that I had 100 pounds on you. But the interesting part was that because I had never, growing up, did like a push-up, I had never done any kind of body weight stuff because I just played sports. Whereas you did a lot of other things, and you had your dad as your dad. There was a time I remember where we were like, Logan, let's just try to do a dip. Let's just try, not like a tobacco dip, but like a movement dip.
A dip.
Yeah.
Not do dip.
That time came later. I can snap it all day.
I for the record, I did not hear anything from. There you go.
Insert sound effect. Insert sound effect later.
Yes, it'll be great. You didn't.
This episode is sponsored by Skull.
Yeah, you didn't really go to Madison Central if you can't do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But we were like, let's just see if you can do this. Which a dip, if you don't know, is that you have 2 parallel bars. You jump up and your arms are extended. It's a tricep exercise. You go down, you go back up, and just could not for the life of me do that at all. It was so incredible because this was like, and it would be like you can bench 300 pounds, but you can't do a push-up. It was just weird how muscles work and life work.
Yeah, make it about life.
Life.
Macro.
Yeah. We're going to go to 30,000 feet.
Welcome to the Joe Rogan podcast. You listen to Joe?
No.
I did for a while.
Bruh, people who listen to Joe, I'm like, where are you finding 3 hours a day from?
You're
you know
definitely
what I'm saying?
cutting that up.
Like a day. People will be like, do you listen to Joe Rogan today? I'm like, listen to what? What? 3 hours. I'm probably listening to 3 hours worth of stuff distributed through my day because I'm on podcasts all the time, but I'm not listening to 3 hours a day. So you can 2 times speed it.
Yeah.
On Spotify, you can do 3.5. I've actually listened to a lot of these episodes in 3.5.
Really?
Yeah. I know, dude. I know. People make fun of me for it.
There's a pastor who was at First Clinton. His name's David Eldridge. Did you know him?
Yeah,
He's still alive. He's just in Birmingham.
Yeah, he's
in Dawson now.
Yeah, Dawson. That's right. That's a beautiful building. I went to a conference there last year, and it is nice. Because it's in Homewood, right? It was WellCon. The Well, they're a church planting family in Alabama, and they're on multiple schools. One of our friends, Chris Wilson. You remember Chris from MC? You remember Chris from MC? Steven? Maybe. He just planted in Starkville right now. Church in the Heights.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you're a freshman or, other classification of academics and you need a church in Starkville, so I got Chris.
So I always feel so weird in college calling you like sophomore, junior, senior, because so many students take victory laps or they take gap years. I just feel weird about it. That's why I usually just say like second, third, fourth year, seventh year.
Yeah, from my experience doing college ministry, it was really interesting because I'd walk up to someone and I'd be like, so is this your what? Like we have a girl right now who is interning with our communications director who goes to Mississippi College as part of her school requirement, and she said, yes, I am in the second semester of my junior year, so I'll graduate next December. And at first I was like that, and now I'm like, yes, excellent, absolutely.
Yes.
That, and then like things at UMC, like all the language and abbreviations and all that stuff.
Not a chance.
I basically, I could not go to medical school, but if I was building your schedule, I could tell you what you need to do because of how long I've been there. Yeah, for sure.
What were we even talking about?
You were asking about
David Eldridge. I nailed it.
Wow.
David he taught a seminary class because he at New Orleans, if you have a doctor of ministry, you teach ministry classes. But if you have a PhD, you teach anything else. I think he had a PhD because he was teaching preaching. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Homiletics. He, as like a part of the class, said you need to be reading books, which is true, and you need to be listening to books to get as much information as you can to be as good of a homiletician as you can. And he recommended listening to Audible on 3 times speed. And he played it through, and he was like, I listen to this while I run, and I understand all the books that I read. I'm like, no, you don't. And
you can listen faster than you can speak. I already speak pretty fast, so I think that's why I listen pretty fast. But yes, your brain can process information more quickly through your ears than your eyeballs.
Just if you're listening or watching, just go ahead and like play the next 30 seconds or so, like at 3 times speed, and you'll realize that like it's crazy.
Yeah, but you really can pick up on most of the things that are happening right now.
But that's the thing, you pick up on most of the things.
I would say that they would probably be able to recount this entire conversation at 3.5 times speed. Most people.
Maybe. It's just, I don't enjoy it. I do, so.
And that's what I think it is. I don't think it's your ability to retain it. It's enjoying it. Like, I don't listen to podcasts necessarily to enjoy things. Even the ones that are comedy, that's where a lot of my friends will flame me because there are, funny podcasts out there, and I'll listen to them very quickly. And people ask me, hey, aren't you listening to this to enjoy it? And I think to a degree, sort of, but I also just want to consume content.
That's true. Yeah. Enjoyment's a big part of it for me. But I do listen to it at 1.25 speed, especially audiobooks.
Wow, really stepping up the speed there, baby.
It makes
wow,
but it makes a difference because like we're talking at a little bit faster. But if we were reading, I would be like, the Bible's funny, but then I would be like, the Bible is funny, and so it's when they're audiobooking it, it's just a little bit too slow, and I'm like, this doesn't sound natural.
Sometimes I don't feel like a very good Christian because when I listen to the Bible, I listen to the Bible at 2 times speed.
Wow, that does. Carly's definitely a better Christian than you.
I'm just saying it helps me process through it faster because they do. People slow down when they read.
They do. It's just a natural because you want to enunciate and say everything well.
Right.
As we transition, give me one funny story from high school or college. I don't have to be involved in it.
Oh gosh, dude.
You were not prepared for this.
One funny story, period?
Yeah, or it can involve me or it doesn't have to.
I think one of the funniest things for me, and does Joel listen to this? Do you know?
I sure. We actually do have 1% of our listenership is from the UK.
He's listening. Joel's listening.
So I'm praying that it's
Joel, right? Hey, baby, I owe you a phone call. I'm sorry, but thanks for listening to this.
Tell the story, and I'll give you the update on Joel.
So the summer that I worked for NAM, I was in.
What did you do?
I was working at Broadmoor, and then sort of like an extension. I was working for the North American Mission Board. There's the acronym. And I was working with some church plants, both in kind of like evaluation. Hey, what's going on? How are these churches? What are their needs? And kind of typing stuff up and sending it in. But then also just kind of spot help for whatever people needed. So if it was a community event or helping them set up their facility. When I was in Vancouver for one of the churches that was there on the campus of Simon Fraser University. It's not UBC. It's the other one on the other end of Vancouver, the other big school. I come through, man, I think like 40 or 50 sermon podcasts and edited them for them and uploaded them to their website.
Oh, for them?
Yeah, for Victor, for The Point. So I was just doing things like that. But anyway, I distinctly remember where I am because I was in a bus station on the way back from Victoria Island to Vancouver. And I got a text message from you that was basically like, hey, our house that we're going to live in that neither of us occupy right now is an absolute disaster because one of our friends who's not in a very good spot right now and another one of our friends, Joel, didn't really know each other, but they were both staying in the house before we would because it was like a 1-year lease. And we knew we were moving on to some other stuff. Carly and I weren't engaged yet, but like you knew I had the ring. You knew that we were trying to get married. Like
because we were going into
June,
our last
senior
year.
Yeah, that's our last year of school. Yeah, so that was the timeline. So we put these guys, and we knew Joel because we had a relationship with his dad and had talked to him a little bit. And you'd been in England and hung with him before. I'd only hung with him when he would come here and we'd kind of eat dinner and that kind of stuff. And I knew that we would vibe for sure, but the two of them.
But what happened is that during the summer, Joel had to go ahead and move in. A friend of ours was like, "Hey, I need a place to stay for the summer," and we said, "Sure, go nuts." So, but neither of us were there.
But then I think they really actually went nuts.
Yeah.
So the funny story, I guess, is I just remember thinking, is this house going to be here whenever I get back? And also remembering, like, do I have the ability to do anything about this? And no was the answer because I was in a bus stop in Victoria, Canada. And I thought, Logan's going to figure out how to take care of this. I don't even know that that's funny, like haha funny. That's just situationally funny. Because I'm thinking, like, I want to help take care of this, but I'm in Canada. So, like, sorry, dog.
That was a wild year because it was our senior year. We both bit the bullet and paid the price of MC to not live on campus, which I don't know how it is now, but back then it was like you were a martyr to the school if you didn't stay in a dorm.
See, look, MC has shifted a ton, which is really interesting, but they're building a lot more on-campus housing now, which is where they make their money. So
of course
it makes perfect sense, But that last year, they were recovering from letting almost everyone live off campus.
Yeah.
The sophomore, I think it was like a junior-senior thing the year that we were sophomores. So when we were juniors, I was stuck on campus. You were off campus with Dylan that year.
And
right?
I really paid the price.
Yes, for sure. And then the next year, they basically did like we will prorate your scholarship.
Yeah.
And it was basically the same amount of money. I actually think it was a little bit cheaper for me to live off campus than it was on campus with like a meal plan and all that kind of stuff. But yes, your story.
Because we were both using a lot of scholarship to go to school. And for me, you gave up, I think when I went that year, you gave up like your whole scholarship.
I think it was like a 50% cut your first year that you were off campus.
And it was because they just did not want you moving off campus.
Right.
But you saved room and board, and if you didn't get a cafeteria plan, which I didn't,
right.
you ended up coming about break even. But then, so senior year, it was you and me, because I got this duplex.
It's a great spot, dude.
It was awesome.
It was so cheap. Do you remember how much we paid in rent? Because I do. I reference it all the time with people.
What?
You paid this, I paid this, and Joel paid this.
Yeah.
It was $990 altogether. So we paid $330, and that was with utilities. Like every single thing we paid for was $330, and that really spoiled me for life. By the way, like, dude, I'm not. Yeah.
Because I remember,
I think I pay C-Spire like $330 every month. You know what I'm saying?
Because they were like, because the guy, so we had a family friend whose name was Big Daddy, and it was one.
Not on his birth certificate.
His family called him Big Daddy, which was great.
Did America call him Big Daddy?
I don't know. The government probably didn't, but everyone else did. But Big Daddy had a friend who was awesome. His name's Jeff, but
So you're gonna make a joke about that, but you're not gonna make a joke about Big Daddy.
Yeah, of course not. Because I would never do that to him. So he was like, "Hey, I have this friend. He does rental houses. Here's the duplex." So we got the duplex. It was the lease was from May to May, which is why we threw Joel and this other guy in there, and it didn't work out. And then I had to end up covering rent for 3 months for other reasons. But
Canadian reasons.
yes, but it was just a wild time because you were like about to get engaged. Me and Megan, I was waiting a year because Megan's a year younger, so I knew that was going to happen. We were both trying to figure out like what does life look like afterwards. We're trying to figure out like seminary, ministry, marriage, all these things. And then in the middle of it, we had a British guy named Joel who was here maybe illegally. It's not quite clear at this point how illegal it was or was not.
It's not like he rode a raft over the Atlantic.
Yes, exactly.
Like he got here.
He got here. And maybe he was supposed to be here.
He was supposed to be here.
He was supposed to be here. It was great. But you had cultural stuff, and it was just an incredible time.
Yeah, I remember one night really pronounced there was this series that he was watching, and it was like the culminating episode of it, and he was really excited about it because they didn't move the camera the whole time, and it was like one take. But they didn't film it live. They produced it so they could mix the audio and stuff like that. And I just remember, I guess just American television, having such an issue with that and going, okay, like let me get this straight. They recorded this like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
They wrapped it. And you're excited because it's essentially one shot the entire episode for the end of the season. And they could have done it live, but they didn't do it live. And it was just fascinating. That's like one cultural nuance because, in America, we do a ton of like, tonight on ABC, this is the most exciting, unbelievable episode of The Bachelor yet. Like, you won't believe what happens next. We just do so much of that. And for him, it was just like, yeah, this is the end of this season. And it's just interesting. There were just things like that.
BBC Live.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I had a dog.
Yeah, you
in
did
the
have a
middle
dog.
of that. So
yeah.
that was when I got captain. And
Yeah,
so,
I forgot about that.
Like,
I mean, not captain.
so captain, obviously.
Yeah.
Captain. We were in this tiny backyard.
Yeah, he lived in the backyard. I forgot.
I
about
mean,
that.
yeah, because it was probably half the backyard was probably half the size of this room.
Yeah, that's probably right.
And I think either I got a wicker furniture set or you got a wicker furniture. There was wicker furniture out there, and over the course of that year, he ate the entire wicker furniture set. It was incredible. But that was an incredible time. I haven't thought about that in so long.
Yeah, great time.
Joel used to walk like 2 miles to Kroger and back because he sometimes had a car and sometimes his car didn't work at all. And that was exciting. So Joel, feel free to call Daniel and give him the update on this.
You call me, I just don't answer. It's my fault. It's not because I don't love you. It's because I have problems.
Oh, yeah. So we just unearthed some stuff.
I mean, not my problems, but yeah, our relationship, yes.
So Joel is currently living on a houseboat on the Thames.
Oh, I did know that.
He's currently one of the directors doing like BBC stuff and just crushing as like a volunteer at Hillsong, just doing all the things. It's an incredible time. And then I keep asking him when he's going to get a girlfriend. He gets mad, and then we just, go from there. But it's an incredible time. What's our time? Where are we at?
About 40 minutes.
Oh, easy. What else do we want to talk about?
I don't know, baby. You tell me.
We haven't discussed this yet.
Okay.
So, like, we eat lunch all the time, but we haven't walked into this yet.
All the time's like once a month, right?
Yeah.
Is there frequency to the time that we get together?
It's really about once a month.
I just feel like it's like the calendar comes
Yeah.
around. We need to start tracking it by the moon or something like that,
It's probably like every
the waning crescent. It's time to go to Primos.
I was going to say new moon, but waning crescent is way better.
The new moon, that would be too biblical, right? We can't be that on the nose.
Is new moon biblical?
Yeah, new moon, blood moon. Do you read the Old Testament here?
Sometimes. I let other people read it.
Don't do that. Are you like Andy Stanley? Are you unhinging yourself from the Old Testament?
I should. I mean,
No, dude, don't say that. He didn't mean it.
You're getting me so distracted.
Jeez.
Why is he doing that?
Well, that is old news.
I know it's old news, but he's holding to it.
I think he's in a spot, and we all kind of do this as people, I think, have this tendency where you get to a place and you think there's got to be something on the other side of it, right? It's the grass is always greener kind of concept, and he's always kind of had one foot in the church and one foot in the leadership space. And I know Atlanta, although it's southern, it's a super progressive city too, so he probably feels a lot of weight of, I've got to be a cultural leader and a cultural voice. So I don't even know if he's as far down the line on some stuff as he says he is, but I don't know.
But you think he's just trying to push it?
I don't know. I think sometimes you just get bored in life and you think, what's the next thing? There's got to be something on the other side of this. And that can take people away from orthodoxy a lot of time.
Yeah, I get that. It's not a biblical thing, but he is a Christian. But what's interesting when I think about that is Dave Ramsey.
You're not on Dave right now?
No, I am on Dave.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying as a contrast.
Oh, yeah.
Because Dave has been talking about however many baby steps it is. Is it 5, 6?
I don't
it doesn't
know.
matter.
I can talk about Dave in a second.
He has these baby steps, but he's been talking about the same thing for 30 years. And he just holds to it. But like you're saying, like Andy just completely, he wants to kind of push and push.
I feel like that's probably right. LeaderCast, he's done some really cool stuff. He's adjacent to Catalyst. Like there are a lot of things that he's done that's really cool. Dave, though, do y'all do financial peace here?
No. But we have a lot of people that are fans.
Yeah.
But I don't think we don't host a financial peace university.
Like we'll do something adjacent to that at Fawn Run probably every 2 or 3 years. And the Dave thing is always really interesting to me. There are 2 things that are happening right now. One, I think it's probably mostly wrapped up, but there are people who are really giving it to him on TikTok and like Instagram Reels a while ago. They're making fun of Dave because they were like, this is whatever, and doesn't work, and you need credit cards and all that kind of stuff. But then secondly, part of the 15-minute stand-up routine that I would do, 10-minute, I have other content. This is like,
But if you had
this
an
is
extra
like
5,
B-side kind of stuff that I don't feel great about, but I would do it if they said, hey, you got to do a 15-minute set, is finding out who does Dave Ramsey like as a family, and then breaking in the middle of the night because you know that they have all their cash in envelopes.
Yes.
So you're like, give me all your envelopes. Give me your vacation fund. I need your tuition. Like you go in and somebody's like, so in the middle of the night, they're like,
you know where it is.
They're like going through paper envelopes. They're like, here. We're like, me, you break into my house, you're going to find like 43 nickels at the front of my house underneath my keys and like some bills that I got to pay.
You're not even going to have like bank statements because all that's online.
Dog,
all that's,
no.
Yeah, maybe an email.
I don't understand that world too because you always click unsubscribe from paper statements and they still send you paper statements.
It's utility companies. They're just like, we just want to make sure. We just want to make sure that you know.
Oh, they're going to get their money. You know what I'm saying? They're going to come in and they're going to shut your stuff off. They're going to get their money.
It's so strange. So you're rowing now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great transition.
I know.
You could have been like, talk about turning things off, talk about doing work, talk about utility.
No.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm rowing now.
So
not on the open water, but yes.
yeah, let's get into it. But you're not even like, you don't do crew. You do concept 2ing.
Yes, I would love to do crew. I've kind of tried to explore that here, but
there has to be a waterway.
Yes, there does indeed usually have to be a straight waterway. Like the reservoir would just be too chaotic because it's got too much movement side to side.
The Pearl is way too windy.
Yes, for sure. Among other things, the water quality in the Pearl sometimes
Just
is
don't fall off.
Yes, I spend a lot of time in Jackson, as you know, so I'm very familiar with the Pearl. Very familiar with the system there. Yes, I am concept 2 rowing. That became a thing that's kind of like a staple of CrossFit for a little while. When I was doing CrossFit, I was into concept 2. And then it's just something that I don't know, I feel like I'm built for. I'm moderately tall. I mean, I'm like, compared to you're like actually tall. Yeah. I'm right on the edge of normal people tall. People always make fun of me whenever I say that, but like, I'm 6'1", 6'2", so.
You're tall, but you've been... Well, now we've had enough life where we're not together every single day.
Yes.
But it used to be every time people saw you when I wasn't around, they'd be like, you're tall.
Yes.
And you're like, well, nothing changes. There's just not a giant next to me.
But I've never like wanted to be tall, I don't think that's a thing for me, which probably means that I am tall.
Yeah.
Some people who are short or shorter, they would prefer to have a little more height. And I think I've always been tall objectively. So I don't need it. So anyway, I'm built well. I'm pretty thick. I have childbirthing hips.
Okay.
Like I'm a thick man. So that helps me in the rowing. And I have a concept 2 rower that lives in my garage. I get on it regularly. I competed in one competition in New Orleans, drove down, beat some people at some stuff. They were pretty high key mad that I was there. And then I've done some stuff online. Digital racing.
No, you don't.
Yeah, 100%.
We're getting into all of those things.
Right.
One thing. High key upset.
Yes, those people are just as a concept. Or that I say things like high key.
No. I'm not surprised by that at all.
Yeah.
The fact that you rolled down to New Orleans and people were like, "Who is this outsider?"
Yes.
That's what happened.
Basically. So yeah, if you guys are unfamiliar with what a Concept 2 rower looks like, the family is referred to as ergometers.
So
they measure the work that you do.
We
a workometer.
So we have a building
Greek
stereotype
erg,
of Steven that all Steven does is be a shut-in and play video games.
Yeah, I've
So
heard
the
you guys say that before.
So the fact that
Steven
you're-
has a well-rounded life, though.
No,
I really don't.
No.
All right.
So the fact that you're having to explain rower, you should just direct that at Steven. So explain to Steven what a rower is.
You know what they look like, don't you? You know what I'm talking about here? It's got like feet, and it has a seat that slides forward and backwards like on rollers, and you have a handle that you pull and straps that strap your feet in. So you essentially pull yourself into this object as you press
See,
your
I
legs back.
thought I knew what it was.
Yeah.
You've been just pushing me further away from understanding what this is.
But you forgot to explain like the turbine. at
There's
the
a
end.
giant wheel. I was trying to describe the mechanism before I got to what actually measures the output.
Okay.
But it's a giant wheel essentially that has a fan inside of it.
Uh-huh.
And there's much more complex pieces we could talk about. Like there's this thing, the dampener that makes the resistance, how hard it is
Yeah.
to pull on it, the kind of resistance that it gives you. But it's attached to a chain. Chain pulls the turbine, and then you slide backwards so that there's like some dynamic movement to you as you pull this thing.
That part I understand.
Yes.
Everything else you completely lost me. You just said words.
It's rowing stationary.
Yeah.
In the same way you have
like
a stationary
like
bike.
a kayak or
I assumed that's what it was, but
Right.
just
It's less of a kayak.
the
more
visual
like-
has completely
what
escaped me.
I do for fun is what people who actually row do when it's too cold outside
Yeah.
or they're training.
Right.
because it's really the coastal, like Southern California or any California, the coastal towns, and then like the Northeast.
Yeah, for sure.
Crew is
That's right.
huge.
And then Europe for sure. You know, the
Oh,
UK is big in crew. There's some crew things in Scandinavia
So we explain what a row is. Why were they upset?
that I swooped in and beat them because I just swooped in. Like this was the New Orleans Rowing Club. Their director, Josh Huppy. He's a guy that I've like messaged a little bit before.
Huppy's a great because
Yeah, I think it's like
But-
HUPPI or something like that.
oh,
Yeah.
but I'm just gonna make an assumption that you're messaging them and going down there because there's nothing around here.
No, you can go to the Concept 2 website. You can find races, and they mostly all happen on the same weekend. So it's like all over America. There are all these races in person, but they actually row. They row crew, the
Yeah,
New
yeah,
Orleans
yeah.
Rowing Club. So they
New Orleans one does.
yeah, they row crew.
on
So like,
Pontchartrain or where do they go?
yeah, they do Pontchartrain, and then they end up rowing on some of the waterways that kind of cut through the middle of the city. So they go and row, and they did an indoor competition. So there are all these people, but it's really interesting because it's a bunch of people who were like collegiate, and they lived in other places, and then they came to New Orleans.
collegiate rowers.
Collegiate rowers, and then they row kind of as older people, right? So people in their 30s and 40s and 50s, and they're like some hobbyists, people who are 60, 70, and they're thinking, I got to do something here at the end of my life. I need to find a hobby and need to find a way to stay active. Rowing will be really great. And then there is sort of like
Easy
a
on the knees, they say.
sure, yeah, let's go with that. And not as easy on the knees as pickleball isn't. You guys know? Have you referenced any pickleball on
You
this
know
podcast
that we
before?
host weekly pickleball nights at Ridgecrest.
No way, dude, for real.
I literally just played pickleball with the staff at lunch today.
Who won?
I won. Me and the senior pastor won.
Pop off, dude.
And
Let's
then
go.
we switched teams up, and I got paired with the stewardship guy, who just had a horrendous match. Like, because Tim, I just found this out. Tim can hit the ball like a freaking cannon, but you know, you have those off games where you just keep hitting the net. He just kept hitting the net, and we just couldn't pull it together.
Does Tim not have a window in his office when I walked past it earlier?
No, Tim's office is literally right there. That's Brian.
Right, Brian has the window.
Brian has the window.
But Tim didn't have a window in the corner.
Negative, no on the window.
That's creepy.
Maybe.
You guys don't let him have the sunlight here?
No, well, he has the corner office of the staff, which he
Oh.
hates. He hates the fact that he has the corner office.
Like referred to as the corner office. He didn't want to be corner office guy.
Yeah, he don't want to be corner office guy.
I understand that. I get
Yeah.
that for sure.
So yes, we're all about the pickleball. What were you going to say?
So apparently there is about to be a huge influx in insurance prices and premiums because all of these
Everyone's
people,
ACLs are disintegrating.
That's exactly right, from pickleball.
We had a church member, Stephen, who will not be named because he was playing pickleball and ripped his calf in half.
Ooh.
Hey, dude, I had a calf and a half at Fondren Church too. He was on a scooter for a while, and I
I
thought,
thought you meant that he ripped his calf in half scootering.
no, dude, that would be really cool, like on a Razor, Cole Gressett. But this guy that we went to school with rode around on a Razor scooter like his entire freshman year. Yeah, you know Cole. You were at MC at Cole's age. Are you Cole's age?
He's only a year younger than us. So he
Yes,
is
you're
Cole's
Cole's
age.
We were at the same time.
Bruh, did he take that scooter in Cressman? Like the freshman dorm? Was he scooting?
That was the year before I got there.
Oh, because look, he would pull up.
I went to Holmes for 2 years.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I got you. His freshman year, he would pull up to the dorms, like the upperclassmen dorm, trying to be cool, and he would be riding a Razor scooter down the hallway. So Razor scooter.
Cole tried to be cool and then became cool.
Yeah, he's got a great life now.
Yep.
So my dude tore his calf playing pickleball at River Hills. And we were like, is there a wider sentence than my guy got injured playing pickleball at River Hills?
No, there's not.
I mean, that's what I said,
There's
dude.
not.
That's what I said. Great guy. Love Robert. Big fan.
Yeah, we're into it here. Like, we have a staff member who is very into it, and then we've realized that our whole church over the age of whatever age you think,
25.
it's probably, maybe 30. But they're into it,
Yeah.
and it's blowing up.
Racket sports are very accessible. It's a whole thing. But to your story earlier, there are all these people. So this competition was like that crew
Yes.
plus the club teams from Tulane and the club team from LSU. So I'm out here with these people who used to row and these people who are currently rowing now. Like the collegiate teams, male and female, Tulane and LSU, they wore their singlets. Like it was hardcore. And I'm on rowers next to them and did pretty well.
Shirt or no shirt?
100% shirt. You know me, I could be a no shirt guy, but
Easily.
nobody wants to be the no shirt guy.
Nobody. Some people do.
Well,
some people do want to be the no shirt guy.
But I think the thing is, like, if I'm supposed to be about the business of Jesus, like a big mark there is humility, and like there's that, and then there's also the just adjacent nudity.
I love, speaking of CrossFitters, I love having the conversation with men CrossFitters. I would never have this with a female CrossFitter. The shirt, no shirt conversation. Because it's a hilarious conversation to have, especially if you're a Christian, and then we can have that conversation of like, you think it's okay? How do you feel about wearing 5-inch inseam with no shirt?
I've totally taken my shirt off before.
Yeah.
But it's just my move is not going to be like the shirt. I mean, from your experience in CrossFit, people would be like, I just got done stretching.
Yeah.
One singular bead of sweat went
Pop
down
the
my
top.
head when I went to collect the jump rope.
Yeah.
Shirt comes off. Pop the top. Exactly.
Yes. There's a moment, never for me, ever, but there is a moment where people say, like, the shirt is too far gone sweat-wise. It's no longer wicking moisture. I'm going to pop the top. Then there's other people who I like to have the conversation with where it's like, we haven't started yet. I'm popping it. And those are my kind of people to be like, what do we think about this?
Not your kind of people.
These
but
are the
your
people
type
that
of
I
people
love
to
talk
challenge.
to.
Yeah, totally, for sure.
Challenge is a hard word.
Oh, okay.
Chat with.
You're not trying to correct them.
You won the overall against a Tulane rowing club?
No, I won the Masters and the 2K, which is not my distance.
What is your distance?
I was really great at the 500. I'm really great at the 1K, so that's 1,000 meters
Yeah,
for
because
the
you
class.
just crush your soul for 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean it's more than 3 minutes, but yes, like I can usually dial it in somewhere in between like 3 and 3:15.
So, Stephen, another thing that you need to know about me and Daniel is we can be extremely competitive. We haven't been competitive in a while just because we haven't done anything in a while.
Not necessarily with each other though. Like I listened to your board game conversation earlier. Reference the board game episode number
9.
Yes, 9.
All right, let's go with episode number 9. And lots of games that I had absolutely no concept about. I was kind of low-key disappointed that you did not mention Dutch Blitz as a game.
But see, I still don't really know how to play Dutch Blitz.
Bro.
Because while you and Michael Kelly, were doing all of that, playing games, I never jumped in.
You could have jumped in to learn though. I do remember you being resistant though. To Dutch Blitz.
It was not resistance to the game. It was resistance to. I was still so shy back then. I was having to put myself out there, which I wasn't going to do.
I was a bad friend. That's what you're telling me.
If that's where you take that, that's fine.
I mean, you know me. I'm always going to take it to the serious place.
We were competitive. We were competitive over scholarships to college, ACT scores, weights. Anyway, I brought that up, right?
Yeah.
We were
There was a
competitive.
segue there.
We were competitive, and so I saw your post, and I was like, okay, we're going to figure this out because like I didn't even know that was a thing. So I was like, we're going to see how we do. And I saw that you won at the 2K, and I was like, let's just see what happens. So I went to the Healthplex, and I was like,
This is so cool. This is
I
a
was
surprise.
like, we're about to row our little hearts out.
Yeah.
And because we've rowed previous you getting into rowing, we rowed what 1,000 times just randomly through CrossFit.
Oh yeah, dude, for sure.
exercises.
Yes.
And it was usually you either row for a certain time as part of a round scheme, or you row for calories. And so
Right.
I'd never done like a 2K. Let's just row it out.
Like 4 meters. Yeah.
Yes.
Distance.
And what I found was that one, it was awful,
Yeah, for sure.
and 2K, can we say sucks? Yeah, of course we can. It's
This is
my
your podcast. Yeah.
It sucks.
Put the explicit next to this one. The E.
Yes.
The little E.
Yep.
This is gonna look really good on the Ridgecrest channel.
It's not.
I almost accidentally marked one of the episodes explicit because I wasn't paying attention.
Which one was it?
I don't even remember. I
That-
wasn't paying attention.
I hope it was the senior pastor one where Michael was on.
I don't think it was.
Incredible. So what I found.
Explicit gospel.
What I.
Matt Chandler. Really, Jared Wilson. All right. Sorry.
Wow. I couldn't get through that book actually.
That's a good book.
It was fine.
Jared C.
His first part was the gospel in the air, and it was the gospel from 30,000 feet,
Yeah.
and I couldn't finish that part.
Wow.
And I was like, the
It
low.
should have done like 10, right?
Yeah.
You would have been in.
If they'd started with micro, it would have been better than.
Oh,
with
you had
macro.
build up. I was thinking like 30 was too high. You wanted 10.
That is true, but like
Yeah.
it would have hooked me more if we would have started low. But I understand why he did that. Anyway,
Gospel at the gate.
I got to 1,000 meters and I was dying, and I realized that rowing is really just you get to your red line and you just hold red line for as long as you can.
And you kind of got to throttle back at the beginning. Like that was the curious part about me whenever I went on this competition was I had 45 minutes in between my 2K and my 500, and I went there to like win the 500.
Wait, you had how much time?
45 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So like I had no time to recover.
No.
And I didn't train within that tight
Yeah.
because the schedule was different,
Right.
the actual schedule of the day and then the internet schedule,
Yes.
which I don't expect them to have it super dialed in. It's a rowing competition. Like I understand I'm not going to the Olympics. So
Yet.
I don't think they do indoor at the Olympics, but they have indoor warm up, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, "This is my
is
Olympics." I wouldn't even get in the boat.
No.
I'm not wearing a
Heck
singlet, you know. But yeah, you kind of gotta like dial back early, which is not something that I do very well. You know, I usually sprint and like want to go fast. It's kind of like a character flaw of mine. I'm not super clutch. I don't
Yeah,
finish well.
You're like sprint and then sprint more and then keep sprinting until
Yeah.
we finish.
That's right, 100%. You know, so all that to say, you kind of got to know like what your times that you have to hit are, which has been really great for me because that's not my wiring naturally. So that's kind
So
of
you're-
bled into other areas of my life and discipline.
So you're watching your pace.
Oh, the whole time, dude. Even with the 500, which is a sprint, you know, like
That's got to be so wild.
yeah, 100%. So even with the 500, you know, there are times where it would project like I was going to finish 15 seconds or 20 seconds before I actually finish. But I know I've got to dial that back or else I'm not going to have more down the line. Because
Are you-
all out effort for, you know, plus or minus a minute and 30 seconds is pretty aggressive.
So, especially in the 500, this is always a question that I think.
But you didn't finish the 2K. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh no, I finished. I'll give
Oh,
you my
okay.
time in a
All
second.
right, okay.
On the 500 especially, are you when you start
Yeah.
big long pull, or shh to
The
get
sprint
to get
start.
the thing going?
Sprint start.
You're staggering.
Yes.
Staggering.
Sure. Stuttering?
Maybe stuttering.
What are
is a
you
better
looking
word.
for?
The zing zing.
Oh, yeah,
zing
no, I know,
Instead
yeah.
of a. Zzzz.
Well, I was just thinking about what adverb you wanted there, but yeah,
I had
definitely.
no idea.
I got you.
This thing just goes.
Sure.
It's a straight pipe.
I got you.
What? No, I did finish, and it was awful. What was your time that you won with?
At the 500?
No, at the 2K.
Oh, the 2K that I won with. I think it was. I could look it up right now, but it
Just
was
ballpark.
It was low 7, like 7:02 or something like that.
That's so fast.
I've been rowing for a while.
So my first one. That's what I was doing on my phone. I wasn't ignoring you. I was looking it up.
That's fine.
My
I'm used to you ignoring me.
whatever that means. My 2K row was 7:53,
Yeah, that's a great time.
and I thought I was gonna die.
That's a great time though. That's a great pace. You're under 2. for
So-
your 500 splits.
So what I did is I was like, because I remember when I was rowing in CrossFit, I could hold anywhere from a 150 to a 2 minute all day.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
And I started at like 140 because I was like, we're racing here, okay? And I got to 1,000 meters and I was like, I'm going to die. My heart's going to explode. And I just found that pace just ticking. And I think I finished at maybe like a 2:10 pace or maybe a 2:15 pace. But I was like, this is the worst.
It's a long time for
And
sure.
I didn't know what your score was, but I knew that wasn't going to beat it. And so I went down me and Steven have talked about this, where I'll go on like 2 week at a time YouTube rabbit holes where I'm just super interested in one thing. So for 2 weeks, I watched almost every video of a guy called Dark Horse Rowing on YouTube.
For sure.
Even to the point where I was trying to find my damper speed,
Oh,
the
yeah,
correct
dude.
damper setting.
100% on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah. So
What were you rowing at? Are you about to ask me that question?
I was about to ask you
Am I interviewing you? This is my podcast. Welcome to the Ridgecrest Lost and Found podcast.
Do you hold your damper at 10 still? Or-
No.
So you move it way down.
Yeah. It's like right in between 5 and 6, which sounds funny.
So
Because it's not 5 and it's not 6, but it's like right in between 5 and 6 on the line.
that was one thing that I was just starting to figure out, and then I moved on to other things.
Yeah.
But I think I was at either a 6 or a 7
Yeah, totally.
because
You have enough resistance is good. For me, like I think it's just about where you are cardiovascularly, like the
Right.
marriage of your cardiovascular endurance and your strength, your output, is that you need enough resistance to where you're not moving too fast and you're spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
But then you don't need so much resistance that it becomes something where you tire out your musculature.
Right.
It's the perfect combination, at least it has been for me, of almost like sprinting and weightlifting,
Yeah.
which is why I think I like it.
because you're probably more of a sprinter now than I am, just because I'm doing a lot more slow twitch stuff. But so for me, because when I got down to like 1, it was too much. I was just going like, zzz,
Oh
and
yeah,
it was,
totally.
It was
dude,
way too
for
much.
sure.
And so I'm probably more towards a 10 because I'm not as explosive. For me, it's like, let's just move.
Right.
If I can move smoothly the whole time.
But I'll go up when I do the 500 because I don't have to go for as long.
Because you're just ripping.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's why in CrossFit they always just keep it on 10.
that's right.
But it was so interesting listening to that guy because he's like a legit
100%.
like he's an ambassador for Concept 2.
100%.
It's interesting.
He's got great content.
So you have a rower at the house.
Yeah. Mhm.
I got a Echo bike,
Yeah.
and that thing is
Rogue makes that?
Rogue.
Yeah.
So the assault bike,
Right.
but Rogue's version of it,
Right, right.
And it's slightly different, and it's just your old school, you know.
Do you have one of those here? Are you about to bring it in?
No, wouldn't that be wild? It's like we're just gonna go and see who drops. We should do a live stream where we just go until people start puking.
Or like the English show, we could record it and then we could put it out later and it could be one take.
It'll be fun. It'll be great. Steven, I don't know if I told you this. I thought about with Daniel for this to do how many girl push-ups can you do in 2 minutes, and just watch us just rip every pec muscle we have. But then I forgot about it and didn't do it.
I
But-
think we could do 2 minutes of real push-ups, but that's fine. If we need to do girl push-ups for comedy, that's fine.
But we weren't going to record it.
Oh, okay.
My thinking
Off
was,
script.
I think we can do 2 minutes of real push-ups. But
Yeah.
the thinking would be like just because I feel like with a girl push-up, you're just full on, like just jackhammering.
Can you say things like girl push-up
100%.
and not offend people?
Is girl push-up offensive? Because I'm describing the type of push-up.
But it's not like girls can exclusively do girl push-ups.
No, that's
you know?
what we were talking about. We do the push-up though.
Yeah, but do you think that they would be insulted by receiving the inferior version of that?
Well, was it branded the inferior version until you said that it was an inferior version?
Well, I think definitively it would be like, this is a cheap imitation of the other.
It's not a cheap. It's the.
It's the
on-ramp.
member's mark to the Kirkland.
There we go. So now you're saying that I have to get my row to 7 or lower.
Oh, no, dude. If it was 7, you would be doing really, really well.
No, I'm getting it to 7.
Like I said, I think I was like 7, 10, 7. I was like in the 710s,
Yeah.
plus or minus.
So I'm getting to 7.
Yeah, come on. Let's go. I'll get on it with you. I think I'm going back to New Orleans in February. And then there's a week in...
That's when it was, because the first time I rode
You rode the rower?
I rode the rower was February 25th, 2023.
Yeah, straight up.
So that was like a week after.
Probably so. You've had that in your phone since then?
I keep things that I
Do you have
workout
benchmarks in your
wise.
phone?
Yeah. I
Wow.
have 4-mile timed run, 2K row, and 30 burpees.
Wow.
Took me 4 minutes to do 30 burpees. That was embarrassing. How fast do you think you could do 30 burpees?
I don't know. You want me to go outside and do it right now?
No, I don't. I do want you to text me later, though, and tell me. I think you can
Okay.
do it in less than 60 seconds.
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, I do burpees really fast. I just fall to the ground.
Yeah. I think you can do it less than a minute.
All right.
How fast do you think you can do 30 burpees?
I don't even know what a burpee is.
Steve.
I'm a shut-in that doesn't leave the house and
That's
plays
right.
loading. Yeah.
It's an up-down. Actually, up-downs are way easier than burpees.
Yes, you can get up however you want
You
to
can
do
get up
with
however
them.
you want to.
with
Burpees,
them.
there's a bit of a technique.
Sure.
So you're doing it in February again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I think I'm going to New Orleans.
They're
in
inviting
February.
you back?
No, I like the guy, Josh. He was cool. He was kind of disappointed that I didn't win the 500. The guy who won the 500.
Oh, you didn't win the 500?
No, I got second place in the 500. The guy who won it was, no joke, like a former Navy SEAL who lived in Biloxi and drove over, and he got me by. I mean, it was unbelievable. I think I rode, it was like 1:30.6 or something, which is not the fastest that I've done that before. In hindsight, I would have not competed in the 2K, and I just would have done
So you could
that,
just rip.
and I would have won. Like, I even would have beaten his
What
time.
was the time? Well, it had to be seconds.
Oh, yeah, dude. He was like 1:24 or something. It was unbelievable.
He beat you by like 10 seconds?
I mean, I guess I rode 1:30 point something,
Five-
and he
5 to 10
yeah, and he was what did I just say, 24, 26.
Yeah, but I was expecting it to be like within a second, the podium.
The guy who was behind me, he was like within a second. He was the guy who rode
Yeah.
crew at LSU, and
So-
he was 1:31 or something like that.
But that was one thing that got me interested was I was listening to this guy talk about rowing. We've been talking about rowing a lot. Is he said really big, long guys just crush at rowing. 'Cause
Totally.
one, being tall helps.
Yes.
But then it's just power and suffering.
And you got to get back fast. That's part of the deal too that I think people miss. Like
Mm-hmm.
super tall people sometimes have a problem because they get all the way out, but then
But yeah,
it takes
'cause
a
what
while
they'll
for
do
you to
is
get
they'll
back
go-
in.
They'll
You
go
know,
like zzz, and they'll just
Yes.
hold at the back, and they'll
That's
kind of
right.
slowly come in and go zzz,
Yeah.
and it's really like
the guys that are
need to be
the
moving.
guys that are great, like really the world record holder guys, they're like 6'3", 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
They're like right in there.
Okay, February I'm doing it. What are the
That's in New Orleans, and there's also one in Chattanooga. So
Ooh. What's that? Chattanooga River, obviously stupid. But
it's inside.
like they have a rowing club. I'm assuming they crew on.
You would think they might just do it inside.
Hear me out. What if we just do the dragon boat regala? Regala?
You're looking for a regatta.
Regatta.
And,
There we go.
And Carly's told me about that multiple times, and I just can't find a lead. So if anybody's a dragon boat, man,
No, you can rent them a dragon boat.
right. But I mean, I'm looking for the people who do that to convince them, hey, we need to do this all the time. Like, let's do crew, and we could compete on real competitions.
Because I think you could do it in the reservoir.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
people sail in the reservoir.
Yes,
I mean,
they do. They
you
do
can-
stay pretty tight to the yacht club, I think, because
That's
you
true.
get. But sailing's different too, you know, because you can do some open water stuff.
Yeah.
People go around the world on
Yeah.
a sailboat.
which is a wild thing. All right, so New Orleans, Chattanooga, we're rowing. What are the events? That's what I was asking you. So you have 500, you have 2K.
Yeah, and that's usually all that people do. I want to find a place that does 1K because I know that I could walk in there, and I probably got it.
Yeah, because 1K is where my gas tank runs out.
Yeah,
Because in the 2K you get halfway and you're like, okay, now we're hurting.
yeah. I feel like when I do 1K, like when I train, I just do what I would do for the 500, which is basically a sprint,
Yep.
a little bit slower, for twice as long. But it's
Yeah. For me,
it's pretty sadistic, honestly.
it is sadistic. I didn't like it, but I did like it. But so my way of doing it would be, which is not necessarily the right way, but I think the way that I'd have to do it is like I'd have to know the pace that I'm shooting for.
Totally.
Like,
You just got to train some.
yeah, but like have a 145 pace, and it's like we're holding 145,
Yes.
and we're just not letting go.
100%.
And that's just because for me, like I would need to be hit. I'm very folky. I'm very focusing on stuff like that.
Folksy?
So for me,
Focus.
if I'm just going off of how I feel, I'll just naturally
No,
slow
dude,
down. Like when
totally,
I'm
don't do
biking
that.
or running, it's like I need to know what my pace is.
Right.
Because if I'm just going on how I feel, I'll just dive off the end of it.
And such is life.
And such is life. All right, here's the main event. You know what we're doing? We haven't even told you yet what we're doing.
I told you I'd do whatever you want me to do.
We are doing. Are you ready? Do you have the things?
I have the things.
We're doing.
Are these drugs? Is this full circle?
Yes.
This is not drugs.
We're doing a friendship quiz.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're gonna see who knows each other.
Is this like where you go to the wedding showers where
We
you
hold
have
up
the
the
two
shoe?
shoes? Yeah.
We
you
should
see
have
that?
done the shoe thing. Fun fact: we have the same shoe size.
Yeah, fun fact.
So he's one of the 15s fighting you for those sandals.
We've
Yep.
coordinated, but yeah, fun fact: Logan is the size that people are supposed to be when they wear 15s. I am like I said, tall-ish size. I'm not a small person, but like I look like I have a boat attached to the bottom of my foot. When I started working at Fondren Church, I very quickly was thrust into the role of minister of announcements, which is
course.
very standard.
As both of us are.
And it was really interesting, the feedback that people gave me pretty immediately. It was not, wow, look at this young guy. I'm so glad we finally invested in our student ministry. No joke, it was, that guy has big feet. That was like people's observation
But
on the stage.
At Woodland Hills, the stage for about half the church is at eye level.
Yeah, for sure. It has got a very slow, progressive slope. We love that building. It's beautiful. We never would have built it like that. Because when you walk into the main entrance, like if you're late, you walk in and everyone is looking forward at you. So you walk into hundreds of people looking at you walk in late, or you have to go walk around
Because
outside.
I'm assuming nobody walks in the traditional front door of the church.
They do when they're late. Yeah,
Because they don't want to get stared at.
100%.
You need to come on a second time so we can have a Fondren Church, probably a slightly more serious discussion, because the whole dynamic of Fondren Church plant and Woodland Hills Baptist Church is an incredible story.
Yeah, we're really grateful, man. God used some really kind people who had kingdom vision to set us up better than we ever could have been. So even though I haven't been at Fondren from the start, from 2011, I did get there in 15. So I've been there for 8 of the about to be 12 years. So I got a pretty good picture
You're
of the
just a
story for
newbie
sure.
Still, you're just always going to be the new guy.
You know, look, besides Robert and Laura, who is like staff member number 1, Robert, our senior pastor, Laura McAlpin, who is like staff member number 1,
Shout
I am technically the longest tenured staff member.
We were talking so we went to South Dakota to talk to church plants to see about partnering or just helping them out. And that was one of the things that one of them was talking about. They had been a church plant for 2 years, and they just had a major flare-up, let's say, relationally, where some people had to leave that were in key leadership positions. And that's what he was saying is like part of church planting is it's almost a guarantee that either good, bad, or indifferent, something will happen where the people that you plant with won't always be there. Now, some of them may, but it's just a natural progression of church life, but especially church plants where people change, people have things happen to them, and just things happen.
Yeah, every organization has a life cycle, right? Well, that's more serious than we meant to be.
We went so into
What's the shoe game?
So we're not doing the shoe game, but we are doing a friendship quiz where I have no idea what the questions are. I told Stephen to find it or make questions, and we're going to see, is it going to be like
So here's
what's
the way
your favorite color? And we just say what
here's
the other
way
ones
I
is?
see it. One, we don't have too much time. I have plans at 5:30, so we do have about 20 minutes.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So I've got 10 questions here. I figure I ask each of you 5, and you alternate, and you answer for the other person.
Easy.
Okay.
I
Cool.
sort of followed that.
Who wants to go first?
Logan.
Me.
Okay.
So I'm guessing something about Daniel.
Yes. What is Daniel's special talent?
I have no talent.
Gosh.
That's the special talent. Wait, so do you know the answers to these, Stephen?
No.
Have you peered into the
I've
dark
done-
parts of my soul?
I've been following you for weeks. I've done my research.
What is your special? I'm not going to say rowing because that's
No.
2 on the nose. I don't think that's your special.
I'm not that
talent.
good.
So
anymore.
Daniel, you have to pick an answer in your head,
Oh, okay.
and then Logan's has to match your answer.
All right.
There's no way I'm going to match.
You're gonna change yours on purpose. When I guess right, you're gonna be like, no, that's not me.
Don't tell me what it is. I'm going to tell
Yeah,
you.
he's
what
going
it
to tell
is.
you what.
No,
he
I
thinks.
mean when I get to you. I'm already anticipating.
So when do I want to this? Freshman year of college, it would have been MMA. So with high school Daniel, not enough people know this. Daniel was going to go semi-pro mixed martial artist and attend West Point.
Yeah, that was the track.
And I mean, it couldn't have changed more on a dime. So his special skill at that point was hurting people, but within the confines of a sport. You did leg check me one time.
Ask me how that works in ministry, friends. Yes, I did. Logan begged me to kick him in the leg one time, and I did.
Yeah, because we would watch MMA fights, and we watched a fight where somebody got leg checked so many times they gave up and tapped.
Yeah,
which was
totally.
wild. And I said, he's a pansy. And Daniel said, well, let me kick you at like 50%, and we'll see how it goes.
That is totally not what happened. You asked me if you're like, I just want to know what this feels like.
That's basically what I said.
Yeah, but you made it sound like I was the one who
Well, no, that's not how I meant
initiated
it.
it.
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
definitely
All right,
initiated
yeah, okay,
it.
that makes me feel better.
You were very reluctant to kick me in the leg.
Yeah, as a normal person would be.
Half power. Like, we did spend about 60 seconds me rolling my pant leg up to make sure he didn't cave my knee in, which
Yeah,
was
that is true.
appreciative.
You got tall legs.
Yes. Long femurs, too.
Is that what it is?
I mean, it's one thing.
Yeah.
Your special, his
That's
special what?
That's permissible.
His special what?
Talent.
That's fine. We can move to the next one.
No, I'm going to come up with something.
Steven's gonna live.
Your special talent is going to be either being a gatherer, if we're going to be serious, like bringing people together, or
Like in Settlers of Catan or something like that.
yeah, it
We
turns
don't
out
talk about Catan here.
everyone hates Catan here.
Oh, really?
Awful.
Okay.
Did you not watch the board game episode?
No, I did. I know board game people have hot takes, but then the second you put it out there, like, oh, I love this game.
Yeah.
No, we hate Catan.
All right.
Or I was gonna say, we already talked about it, but I was gonna say like sprinting, like going out hot.
Well, yeah, those are great
think-
answers.
I think about when you were doing pull-ups at CrossFit Fondren,
Yeah.
and you fell
I
because
did
you were
literally
gonna
fall
get
off the
one
bar.
more rep.
100%.
One more rep.
I did swing myself off of the bar.
No.
Yeah.
It was great.
Do you accept that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's a great answer.
Okay.
What were you
would
gonna say?
What would you
were
have
you
said?
gonna say?
I don't know. I don't know. And
I
I
have
think
no
I'm good
idea
at
what
it.
mine would be.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. Yes, Steven.
What is Logan's greatest fear?
Oh, gosh. Wait a second. This is something really obvious.
There's like a physical answer, and there's like a, if you want to get super psychological, but that's deep. We don't have to go there.
No, Logan's deep psychological fear is that he'll be all alone.
Pretty much nailed that one.
But the physical answer, dude, is it snakes?
The other one.
Spiders.
Yeah.
That's what. See, listen, I thought that spider was too on the nose because I got bit by a spider.
You sure
and you were
did.
friends with me then, you
sure-
know?
He got. I thought he was
It
going to
is
lose his.
spiders.
I thought he was going to lose his leg because he got bit by a brown recluse while we were waiting on a football game,
Literally.
and your leg almost fell off.
My 4-year-old thinks that's a hilarious story, by the way. Stella thinks it's just so funny.
I love
'Cause I got bit by a spider. She thinks it's hilarious that the field house like didn't have doors on it.
Yeah.
She just can't picture a
I-
world like
I-
that.
I think that's hilarious too that happened. Anyway, next.
So did he get it?
No,
He said snakes, but then he corrected to spiders.
I mean, you tell me.
he
if
did
he-
say the other one. No, I didn't get it right. I did get the existential fear correct, though.
He did nail that one.
Okay, so we'll say no to that one then.
No to that one's correct.
Oh, we're
Okay,
keeping
cool.
score out. Okay, perfect.
It's a quiz. So
That's true.
yeah.
Winner takes the squirrel paws over there.
Yes, 100% now. Now we have to do that.
the off-camera squirrel paws, and we're not going to explain that. What's Daniel's favorite place in the world?
Oh, wow.
The beach.
I do love the
Do
beach.
I need to get specific about which beach? 'Cause I
No,
don't know
please
that one.
don't get specific. But that's great.
Easy.
So
Beach is acceptable.
2-0. Okay.
Yeah.
What is Logan's favorite animal?
Your specific favorite animal?
It's not spiders. We know that much.
Yes.
I mean, I do think that you probably prefer captain to lady, right?
100%.
So that would be my answer. Would be
Yeah.
your captain.
Captain is the best animal.
It's not like captain, like ladies delinquent by any means, but just
You
you've got the
can't
time under tension
You
with
can't.
cap
You
for
can't
sure.
do that. Correct.
I wasn't thinking like specific, like
Oh,
dogs could have been, like dogs, cats.
Yeah, but
like-
he's a dog and he's my favorite animal.
So, yeah, but
double
so,
points.
That was pretty good. 2-1. Okay. Daniel's favorite food.
gut was pizza.
I love pizza. I mean, I would probably like to believe I'm more refined in my life,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, a great steak is great, but I'll take pizza.
So
What's wrong with liking pizza?
That's probably like expensive, non-expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So
Who can afford red meat now?
It's wild.
You know what I'm saying?
So what we were almost going to do before I found out about the friendship quiz is we were going to rate pizza places.
Oh yeah, dude, that would have been great.
We'll come back on the next one.
Okay.
And we'll rate pizza places, and we'll do a comparison of like Domino's and Pizza Hut,
Okay.
and do like
Do you remember when Domino's was ranked behind Chuck E. Cheese on a survey a couple years ago? And that's what really led them to do such a rebrand. And business has been really great for them since then.
you remember.
But I can't imagine getting such a diss, man. Like your
That's a
pizza,
wake-up call.
you know what I'm saying? Like your pizza is more trash than this cartoon Rats place.
But you remember how terrible Domino's used to be?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially compared to how Domino's is bar none the best chain pizza place now.
Well, we'll have to discuss that on the next one.
What are you going to say? Papa
All
John?
things
I'm gonna
considered-
save it.
All things considered, yes, Domino's is the best all-rounder. But
Wow.
considering they went from worst to that, that's a heck
You
of a
can't
rebrand.
argue that they're most improved.
Absolutely.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Anyway, next.
Talking to a most improved kind of guy right here.
Logan's favorite season.
Oh, wow. I would probably say it's the fall time that you like. You don't want to be oppressed by the summer. You begin to hunt some things in the fall occasionally. There's some structure that comes with student ministry and back to church. Your kids go back to school to a degree. The fall time.
I have no idea, but that you kind of convinced me that that's my favorite.
It's either that or the spring. Like I know whenever it gets warm again, you're stoked, but then the impending summer is never a move. Like if we did this podcast outside right now, we would be melted.
Yeah, we're both sweaters.
Some of these days in Jackson right now, they make me
Yeah.
feel like I'm not living in the right state.
It's between fall and spring. There's a time in my life where it was definitely spring, just specifically because of baseball. But that time is very much past, and I do enjoy it. I'm looking forward to squirrel hunting this year. Next.
So we're taking that as a win.
That's an L.
Th-
So.
No, that's yes.
All right, that's
I
fine.
said,
Okay, I'll
I
take
said
it.
fall.
So 3-2.
Oh,
Okay.
this is cute. This is friendship.
So it's on Daniel now. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, you're answering for.
yes, you're asking me a question.
If Daniel could have dinner with one person, who would it be?
Is he dead or alive?
Yes,
Dead or alive?
Yeah, let me think.
any person.
I'll give you both. I'll give you a dead person and a live person.
Okay.
It was really hard to find questions for this, by the way, because whenever I looked up like best friend quiz, it was all like teenage girls. Like, who was your crush in middle school?
Oh, we
Like,
would have nailed that.
Oh yeah, dude, that would have
So
been
I
very
had to
bad.
You
just
don't
like
realize what we talked about every day.
I had to like Frankenstein monster a quiz together.
Mary Shelley.
That's who you'd have dinner with.
No, isn't that Frankenstein?
That is
Monster?
Frankenstein. Yes.
Yeah.
Dead would be Tim Keller, R.I.P.
Ouch. Yeah, dude. I do love Keller.
Alive.
That's tough, man.
Alive would be. Who would you want to eat with? I'm assuming it's a pastor. I'm trying to think of like a pastor / leader that you'd want to meet with.
I'm that Christian.
You are that Christian. I mean, it's not like Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, honest Abe.
I can't think of an alive person.
He wasn't actually that tall. It was just the hat, you know?
No. I've seen pictures of him,
Right.
and when he's not taller than everybody else. I have no idea who the alive person. Give me an alive person.
An alive person that I would want to eat with in my life right now,
Yeah. Like I have no idea who that would be.
I would probably say
It doesn't have to be a pastor.
no. I don't think it would be a pastor right now. I would want to talk. You're gonna laugh at this, but
Joe Rogan.
no, not Joe. I would probably want to talk to like Jerome Powell. He's the Fed chair right now, you know, so that I can figure out what the interest rates are about to do, so I can figure out how to make some money.
There we go.
Am I like 40 now? What is
Yeah.
this?
And the SEC is going to be looking into your finances very quickly.
If only the Southeastern Conference would look into my finances.
Are we accepting that answer?
No.
Okay.
That's the Securities
At
and Exchange
best-
Commission.
At best, it's a half a point for Tim Keller, but
Okay,
I'll
so
take
we're
the
s-
loss.
I do
on
like
that.
TK.
So we're still 3-2. Is that right?
Yes.
Rep TK.
Okay. What is one skill that Logan wishes he had?
Skill you wish you had? I do think you'd like to be more musical than you are. You know, like you've given a few shots at music, and it's just not there for you or me. You know,
It's not.
Are your boys going to be musical now?
Yeah. They will.
Really? That's good.
Cannon can already sing. He can already kind of match melody.
Yeah.
As a almost 2-year-old.
Yeah, that's good.
And Cash is going to struggle like me. I think.
Really?
I think he's going to struggle, but he will have infinitely more opportunities to grow that skill. But I don't know yet if he has. Like Megan is very talented.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if he has her natural ability yet. It hasn't kind of shown. I think Cannon could have, because Cannon, so like Cash naturally will not clap on rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
He has to kind of think about it and match us clapping on rhythm.
Right.
Cannon, as a almost 2-year-old, is clapping when I
Really?
clap.
Internal metronome.
It's kind of crazy.
Does Megan lead worship here?
She does sometimes.
Yeah, that's good. She's got a good gift.
But it's both a lack of natural talent and it's a lack of discipline to actually grow the skill of that. Because some of that is just skill practice.
Sure.
But yes, that would
You
be
do
it.
got to get it on the inside, though, you know? You got to have it.
That is true.
So we're accepting that
Win.
answer.
W.
So 3-3.
Sure.
Tied it up, baby.
If Daniel could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. I have no idea. If you could have one superpower. We've had lots of conversations about that, of like shooting candy out of your hands, or
Do you remember what the other one is that goes with that question set?
is it either flying or invisibility?
Talking to animals. Would you rather talk to animals or be able to shoot candy out of your hands? And I don't want to attribute this to the wrong person, but I think one day that Derek Walker said,
It was dabs.
oh, Preston said this?
Yeah.
I know he's a funny person. Preston said, well, I can already talk to animals. They just don't talk back.
Oh, the question
Genius.
presented was from Preston Dabs, but Derek may have said that.
Maybe it was Derek's response. That's right.
Which that does sound like something Derek would say.
Yeah, dude, it was great. It was
To his
great.
dog.
I was like, that is very
And the
smart.
answer to that is to shoot candy out of your hands.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Why not, Steven?
I would love to be able to speak with animals. It would be interesting.
But think about the utility of shooting candy out of your
Think about the utility of being able to talk to animals. And them talk back.
But it's different kinds of candy that can be shot at will. Think about Twizzlers. Think about Sour Patch Kids. Nerds. Nerds is like a bullet.
Dude, you'd like Amazon Marketplace this thing, and you could never work another day in your life. You
the
just like,
government
open up
would
gallons
find
of
out about
bags.
you so fast, and you would be put in a lab somewhere, and they would run tests on you.
And you don't think they would do that to Animal Man?
They wouldn't be able to prove that you could actually talk to animals.
Oh, I don't know.
It'd only be for you.
I don't know. I'm going to go with super speed.
I would like to have great strength.
Dang it! That was what I was going to say.
And here's the deal: you experience this as a large person. People are always hitting you up to move stuff. I'm not talking like move me to a new house. I'm just talking move things. Hey, here's this heavy water bottle. Hey, this rock is in the way. This drunk person hit this concrete berm in the Fun and Church parking lot, and it's got to get corrected. It's always me, and I don't hate it. It's something God's given me, being large, so I want to use it. But it would be really nice if that stuff was easy instead of slightly
I'm
exerting.
so mad that I was going to say it, and I thought, no, I'm going to pick something different.
Yeah,
Dang it!
the utility would just be
I
because
know.
almost everything I would do now
I
would
know.
just be what it is
I know. God,
You could win this.
for the W. Is this the golden goal?
Wait, was that my last one?
Oh,
So it is tied. So
This
I'm
is the
mayor
golden
of
goal.
Chokesville right now.
here's what we could do.
no, I'll
um,
take it.
So this question is, describe the other person in one word.
Nah, that's too subjective. Give a different one. There's a right answer to. If he's going to beat me on this one, it's got to be one
But
like.
that's what I was going to say. You have to think of a word, and he has to guess what word.
Otherwise, we end in a tie. That would be sweet. We could tie and hold hands.
No, give him a different one. Was that the last question?
That was the
you
last
had?
one I had. I had 10. You asked for 10.
I'll think of one real quick.
So ungrateful.
That's what it
I
seems
break
like.
my back over this quiz, and
What is one that you asked me that I had to answer for him? Give him one of those.
special talent. Yeah, because you guessed his, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is Logan's special talent?
Did I guess yours?
I don't. Is there a difference between talent and skill? Can I consult the judges on this?
Nate, go through all the ones that I did for him.
Because here's what I would say to special talent. I would say that you really are a great craftsman, especially like in the woodworking arena. Like I think what a lot of people did with their STEMI checks when the government was handing us out money, and you put a majestic deck on the back of your house. You had that thing graded, like you had the slope. You'll moonlight on the side and do a ton of like French drain, fence constructing kind of stuff. And a lot of people can throw that stuff together, but for that not to be your full-time gig, the level of mastery that you have is pretty impressive.
That made me feel good inside. I'll take it. Dang it.
So Daniel wins.
He does.
Golden goal, baby.
I can't believe that. I didn't know that was my last one. I would have gone with strength.
Well, it's your fault for not paying attention to the number of questions.
Story of my life. All right. So, any last words before we wrap this thing up? Anything?
I had them earlier and I forgot what they were.
So you don't have a last word?
I don't have a last word.
God,
technically, that's my last word.
Daniel, any last things you want to say? Things you want to shout out? Things you want to say?
Anything
at all?
No, this is fun. This is cool. You guys feel like you've gotten pretty good engagement on this so far?
Mm-hmm. It's steadily growing.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't start off like everyone and their mama listened to it, but people are listening, people are engaging. So it's been fun. I enjoy it.
I think it's cool. I mean, you guys know church space is really interesting right now, and I run into this a lot in my spot and my church. So many people are looking for things that are wrong with the church instead of things that are right with the church, and what the church is against instead of what the church is for.
Yep.
So for you guys to take the time to want to build up, that Christians can be people of joy, that there's nothing worse than sad Christians. It's just not a very compelling gospel, right? Hey, come and be miserable with us.
Mm-hmm.
So that you guys would have no agenda but friendship on these is pretty cool. So thanks for having me in.
Yeah, dude.
I do have a last word if you want me to finish this thing off.
Is it a question or?
It's a question.
Okay.
What's my special talent?
I almost did that, Logan. I almost asked you to compliment Steven.
Your special talent is